And the second semi-final then is between the Starlights and the Shelmaliers, and it's here on Sunday evening. And we'll get Brian's thoughts on this game first. Brian, how do you see this game going?
Yeah, another tight one, Peter. Look at you have the big names again, for the Shells. You have the Mellows, and I suppose the big thing for the Shells as well is the double. Maybe they don't want to talk about it, or maybe they won't be happy with people mentioning it, but it's there. And the way the championship is split now, they have a genuine chance of doing a senior double, which I think was last achieved by the Ans in 2001. It'd be a magnificent achievement for a club, but the Starlights will have a bit to say about that, and probably another team that are gathering a bit of momentum as this championship goes on. I suppose the big one again, the Jimmies last week, was having Jippo back, and he was flying. Jimmy's now lost. They lost 3 important players basically in the first half, but that's not to detract from the Starlights win. I thought the Jimmies would have enough, but the Starlights are gathering a bit of momentum at the right time, and that's always a good thing when you're in the knockout stages of the championship. They have a lot of good players. They have Ricky Fox and Ryan Mallon. Yeah, they have, and Jippo back full belt. So yeah, it's going to be a close one.
And Colm, then obviously you had the disappointment of losing to the Starlights. I suppose unfortunately you had your chances to win it, and they had their chances to win it and came out on the top. How do you see them going against the Shelmaliers?
Well, Brian is spot on there about momentum. Every year you seem to see someone coming out of the pack really and having a big quarter final win and gathering a bit of momentum. They had a couple of weeks to prepare, and I think that served them very well. Anto was a very astute manager, and getting Liam Ryan back, it creates match-up problems for whoever you're playing against. Couple that with Nick Doyle, and his aerial ability. I'm sure John is he's pulling his trademark fringe out now and wondering how he's going to counteract that this week. But the big question is, can the Starlights replicate that intensity they showed last week? Down at pitch level there, you could hear the thuds in a very clean game. You could hear the thuds, the contacts all over, the impacts all over the field. Can they bring that again? The key men for them are Ryan Mann and Ricky Fox. For me, they carry a lot of ball, and the moves start and finish with them as well. Ryan is a fantastic footballer. He drops out from wherever he's picked, and he'll pick ball up all over the place. If there's space, he'll go. If there's not, he'll pick out a pass. And playing Ricky inside has proved a bit of a master stroke as well for Anto, because Ricky will drift out into those areas. He's well able to shoot, and he's well able to pick out a pass. I'd fancy a little bit of aerial bombardment as well at the Shells full back line coming from Starlights, with Nick in there. It's just a matter of kind of get the runners in and around them, but if any team kind of suits the Starlights, it's the Shells. I mean, the Shells could go from one end of the field to the other without the ball bouncing or hitting the ground. They're that good handling and moving the ball. They're a complete team. There's no major superstars as far as they're concerned. Everyone knows their role. Everyone knows what to do, and they'll move that ball around efficiently. So, it should be a really, really. It could be a tight game, or the Shells have an ability to open teams up and score goals. Glenn Malone is kind of putting his hand up as the best footballer in Wexford at the moment, and I'd imagine him and Jippo now will be going, fairly hammer and tongs at it in around the middle of the field. Brian bursting forward as well. They're not going to come through the middle that easily there, and with the Donohue's marshalling the backs as well, they have the matchups for me for the Starlights, but anything can happen on the day. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it could go either way. It's hard to just pick one of them at the moment,
And David, in terms of the hurling, the thing that set the Shelmaliers apart from the other teams in it was their fitness. And obviously being able to kick on in the last 10 minutes of any game is the most important part of the game when it's to be won. And they came through a war of attrition with Glenbarntown the last day as a result of that, probably.
Yeah, no, I've been very impressed with the Shelmaliers because obviously coming off a county hurling final and winning it, and obviously the celebrations that follow, I mean, it's tough to immediately switch attention to football. They've done that pretty seamlessly. They came out of a tough group, which included a must-win game against a good Kyle Nairn team. So, I mean, obviously their fitness has stood to them, but they've now had the opportunity to have more sessions with John and more football in their hand, and they've improved time and time again. What I like about the Shells is they can mix it physically or they can play football, and I mean, I think we saw that against Glenbarntown, a bit of both, but I mean they seem to be comfortable with how they're playing, and also self-assured in themselves insofar as they'll win the game whatever way needed. Again, looking at the Starlights last weekend, I was very impressed with the Starlights in how they came back from going 6-7 points behind early on. The first water break came, and I think it was a relief to get them in, and Anto and Jason reorganised. They came out after the second water break, and they really pushed up on the James's kickouts and forced a lot of turnovers, and it actually led to the penalty. They also moved Nick Doyle inside on the edge of the square, which created a target, because at the time Skinner was pointing out upstairs that they were too slow and they had no one inside to hit. So showed that they're able to rearrange it as the game goes on. Alan Tobin was fantastic the other day. Kicked 3 or 4 from play. Ricky Fox had 6 on his back, but he was definitely playing further up the field. Obviously got a penalty, but he got a super score to start the second half. So I mean, we saw it back in 17 when they won it, and again when they get that bit of momentum, and they you know, the Raps are obviously out of the hurling is finished, they get more footballs in their hands at training, and they're a dangerous team. Again, I think it's shown, we've talked about it with the other preview, but the structure of the championship, everyone, you ask any player out there, they're going to say they're in favour of it. You know, you're able to give your sole focus to the particular code that you're playing, and I think we're seeing that with the Starlights improving by the day, and we're seeing that with the Shells, who are looking more and more dangerous as the weeks go by. I mean, I mentioned about the Starlights press up on the kick out, but again, the Shells likewise will do same if needed.
And Brian, we won't dwell on the referee, but I think it's an important milestone for Tom Furlong, who's refereeing this game. I think he refereed his first senior football game between Glenbarntown and the Sarsfields, and now in his first season as a senior referee, he's refereeing the semi-final. He's done a good job so far.
Yeah, we actually covered that game in Ross that evening, Peter, and we actually mentioned it, how good a job he done on it. You know, he played the game. He seems to, you know, for me, he's the best referee in the county at the minute. Football anyway. He you know, he doesn't throw the black card around as much as other referees seem to do, or any card for that matter. You know, he doesn't mind it being a bit physical, and you know, I think that's going to benefit both teams here for that game. But no, Tom is a very good ref. You know, I've seen a lot of games where you know, even going back to our own game there the weekend again against the Martins, like, you know, I mean, the Martins ended up with 13 on the pitch, and like, I struggled to find a dirty stroke in the game, you know, and I think both teams had said that, and we were down to 14 for 10 minutes as well with a black card, you know, and that's all very well. Like, we're gone out of the championship from a Horsewood perspective, but now you have 2 Martins guys going into a semi-final, and you know, they've got black cards where they probably shouldn't have got any kind of a card, and you know, if they get another black card in a county semi-final, they'll miss the final, you know. So it's you know, I'd like to see the black card got rid of, to be blunt about it. But if it's going to be used, it needs to be used properly. I mean, it's for me, there's too many people been sent off in games. I think Glyn were down to 10 at one stage again, the Shells.
11.
Yeah, well, I think they were down to 10 because they had a black card as well, Peter. So I was talking to Darren there, and at one stage, like, they may have had 10 on the pitch for a 7 or 8 minute period, but they definitely had 4 sent off, and by all accounts it wasn't a dirty game either, you know. So the card thing for me is a bit of a bugbear, to be honest, and you know, it can have a knock-on effect for, you know, Rory O'Connor, who got I can't think off the top of my head now who the other
Conor
players.
Furman.
Yeah, Conor Furman. I mean, if any of them two get a black card here next weekend, and the Martins go through to the county final, they miss the county final. So but I think that's why I'd be very happy to see Tom Furlong refereeing one of the games. I know he won't give cards unless they've been earned. He played it that way and he refs it that way, and I'm delighted to see him get to semi-final.
And I don't know if you're a believer in patterns or not, Colm, but the last time the Starlights won the championship, these were the 4 semi-finalists, and the only time the Shells won it, they bet the Starlights in the semi-finals. So
yeah, and the year they won it, they beat us in the quarter-final as well. So I mean, I don't think that'll matter a whole lot. Whoever shows up on the day with the full intensity, and you need a few breaks as well along the way. I'd like to say I finally agree with Brian about something. I think they should take that black card now and send it back. It's just not doing anything for the game for me. It's causing confusion, and the officials, it makes their job an awful lot harder, and they should simplify the things as much as possible. And I'd certainly would like to see a black card. I don't think the game from a neutral perspective is any enhanced with having someone gone off the field for 10 minutes either. So but Tom is having a fine season as refereeing, and one thing I do like about him is he's consistent throughout, you know, to both sides on all instances. If it's over carrying, it's over carrying, and so on. And you know, it's great to see someone coming through the ranks like that as well.
And we'll give you a word on the black card, David, if you like, but also your final prediction then for how this game is going to go. Yeah, well,
look at, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the black card myself, but the other new rule that I'm certainly not a fan of is the forward mark. I mean, it creates a lot of confusion. We saw it again here in the park the other night. You had to explain to us that it wasn't a mark because of a free, and I think, unfortunately, a lot of the players on the field don't know when a mark is a mark as well, and you know, it's difficult for referees. In fairness to the referees and the cards that have come out, look at, I mean, you know, players have to take responsibility as well at times, and I hold my hand up in that respect also. Look at, I mean, just another observation coming from the 4 semi-finalists is, I mean, how unlucky maybe Fethard and Castletown-Liam were to end up in groups where the 4 semi-finalists have come from those 2 groups. Fethard only a few kicks of a ball away from beating the Martins and also getting something out of the Starlights games.
I think John Tubbard had a free into the Clonardine goal, and if it had gone in, they would have won by 3 and put the Martins out. So
yeah, no, and that's right. And the other group, just as tight, Castletown-Liam quality team. Unlucky not to possibly not any one of the 3 could have come out of the group, and it goes back to the point of at the start of the championship you could throw a blanket over the 12 and any one team could get that bit of momentum and win it on any given year. Yeah, looking forward to the game. Prediction wise, John asked me upstairs on one of the Ross group games my prediction for the championship. I took a gamble with Gusseron thinking they'd come back. That failed miserably. I also picked Castletown and the Shells. I'll stick with them. I picked Castletown the first game. I'm going to pick Shells in this game. I think they're a well-oiled machine, high on confidence, and I mean getting better by the day. They have options all around the field. They have lovely footballers in Glenn Malone, Brian, obviously, and then they have guys that can mix it up. And I mean, you can be sure Aidan Cash will be in the middle of the field, standing on Jippo's toes from the word go, you know, to stop him from moving. So, again, Simon Donoghue, the list goes on. They have quality all over the field. They've the option of bringing Craig McCabe back after his exploits with North End. So another
top class football.
Top class. Sean Keane Carroll hasn't started any games, and he'd make any team in the county. So I mean, John Hegarty has serious options out there. Certainly not writing off the Starlights. I was really impressed with them last weekend. Ryan Mann, key man for them, excuse the pun, coming out from corner forward. Ricky Fox on the ball, obviously Nick Doyle, all quality players as well. But for me, the Shells look like a team that have their sights set on a double. They might not say it, but they certainly have a huge opportunity to do so. It's going to be a tight game, but Shells Castletown final for me.
And Colm, do you agree with David's prediction there?
It's going to boil down to the last few minutes. I'm going to go with Shells. I think that they've shown that they're going to push on, and they have the fitness, they have the bench to come on. He mentioned Craig McCabe. He could be the joker in the pack. I know Craig from soccer, and he's a great attitude, a great chap. I don't know how much it took out of the Starlights last week. I just feel that we had a lot of goal chances that Pat got him out of jail. Unless they can tighten that up considerably, I'd feel that the Shells are probably going to have a little bit too much for them.
And Brian?
Yeah, probably going to be the odd man out here, Peter. I've a sneaky feeling for the Starlights in this one. I just think they have a bit of momentum. You know, the fact that the Raps didn't get out of the group in the hurling, you know, they've had a good bit of time to prepare. You know, they're probably one of the senior football teams who had a clear run at the championship from a long way out. There'll be very, very little in it. A pint maybe towards the Starlights, and it wouldn't surprise me, Peter, even if we maybe see our first penalty shootout here in Wexford Park for that one. But I give a hesitant vote to the Starlights.
And I think we'll have two very close semi-finals, but I think maybe with the extra week and their impressive form so far, I think I'll go with the Shelmaliers.